Hello, my friends. I hope that you are, I'm trying to get this little stand to stand up correctly. And it keeps kind of falling over there, but that's all right. As long as it doesn't fall on my head, we'll be good. How are you? I hope I'm not making you dizzy. And I hope that everybody had the most wonderful Thanksgiving ever. If you are not able to watch, hello, Miss Kelly. If you are not able to watch live today, hi, Harriet. How are you, my dear? Hi, guys. If you are not able to get on live today, do not even worry. Just when you rewatch, drop me a replay. And I hope that you all had the most beautiful Thanksgiving. I hope that you spent amazing amounts of time with your family, that you got to unwind and relax and rejuvenate. And I hope it was just blessed for you. And hello, my dear. Hello, Oksana. How are you guys? I'm so happy to see my tribe coming back. So it feels good to be back live. It feels good to have a phone and be back live. I really missed it, actually. I used to be so afraid of going live. I would get so nervous. And it's so interesting because when I found human design and really started studying my own design and learned that my closed throat was one of my greatest gifts, I realized that all of my fears of going live were coming from all of the other areas that are open. And so I was like, forget that. So I've been working on deconditioning and now I look forward to it so much. Yes, Harriet, were you there? Were you at the very first one? I think this one's from 2014 possibly. Hi, Jen. Hi, Katie. Yeah, I think this one was 2014 maybe. I wonder if is that how long ago I met you? It's been a long time. All right, we are going to talk about the 9 energy centers today. And I love this, and here's why. So, human design is we talk and we say, and it is true that our type and our strategy are the most important things in order to get us in alignment with our design. Because if we are not following not our type and our strategy, our strategy and our authority, which are part of our type. So for example, I'm a projector, that is my type. My strategy is to wait for the invitation, and my authority is an inner sounding board. And so I am to use my throat to talk things out, not necessarily to anybody else, but sometimes I'll record myself saying them and play them back. So when I am doing those things, I am greatly in alignment and the opportunities began to come and my energy is magnetic and all of the things in life just feel grace-filled and easy. When I'm not waiting for the invitation and I'm plowing forward and I'm in people's inboxes and I'm saying, hey, I have this special, you should really buy it. And I'm selling and I am going around asking people, what do you think? And I'm just making decisions from my mind space, then it's pretty much guaranteed things are not going to go too hot for me. That is, hi Amanda, and that is how it works. That is how it works, okay? So your first thing to really, really master is your strategy and your authority. If you do not know yours, then for whatever reason, please let me know and we will take care of that. Then our energy centers. This is why I fell in love with human design, is looking at our energy centers, because being a therapist, the power of looking at where we are holding in our bodies most of our limiting beliefs and knowing that our open centers and our undefined centers give us a greater predisposition to be conditioned there. It does not mean that we can't ever have issues from or have conditioning in our defined or closed centers. That's not true. Yet, what is different about defined and closed versus undefined and open is that Our defined centers give us constant access to the energy of those centers. So for example, with my throat being closed, I pretty much always have constant energy and access to a strong voice. So my voice always feels like it has something really important to speak. And if you have a closed throat, this is our manifestation area. So if your throat is closed, you want to be manifesting by speaking and speaking what you desire into existence. Having said that, if you have a closed throat, you also want to watch your words very greatly, because we are manifesting them because we have that powerful closed throat. So if you're saying things like, life sucks, and I never get what I want, or, I'll never get that job, and you're speaking this with a closed throat, chances are good that you're right. So we're gonna talk more about that, and I'm gonna try to keep the, hi Kelly, thank you. Hey Jessica, I'm curious, I saw your request come in and I'm gonna get it to you today. I'm curious how generators can use the wait and respond strategy for business. Okay, so we're not gonna talk about that today. We actually covered that in depth in the first 2 days. Last week, I have some videos and I also did some posts on that, so I'll tag you on those. And then if you still have questions towards the end of the week, we'll go back over them. But today on this live is just about energy centers, and just to respect that portal of people, that have shown up to learn about energy centers, we're going to stay focused on there, and I will tag you and make sure that you have the resources for that, okay? Because it is very important in business. So we'll get you taken care of. Hi, Elizabeth. Hi, Len. Good to see you guys. Okay, so energy centers. It's so powerful also because our open energy centers are where we have the greatest opportunity to turn all of that conditioning, all of those limiting beliefs into wisdom, into power, into deconditioning, okay? So I would like to flip the script a little bit on the viewpoint of open centers. In the human design world, it can kind of be like, human design, in the human design community or world or whatever you read on the internet, not necessarily like people we know in Facebook world. I just mean like when we read or whatever, it's almost like open centers are kind of like the redheaded stepchildren, like, oh, you have an open, heart. I'm so sorry. No, I'm not looking at it like that. I'm looking at it like, yes, because you know what? When we have such potential to look at all of the ways that we have been conditioned and then use our other superpowers to flip that script, we actually come out on top, because then we can use the wisdom we have gained as well as know what it's like to be open, right? So, you're hearing me say this from somebody that has mostly all open and undefined centers. My head is defined and closed, my ajna and my throat. And that is it. So from the throat down, I am completely undefined. And my solar plexus is totally open, which is interesting as a therapist, because that means I take on other people's emotions, that what I feel is generally not my own. And I have an open G center. And we're going to go over what all of that means. And so when it's open, it means that there are no gates around it that are activated. So it's just totally open. It's kind of like, hey, I'm the middle child. I'm just over here hanging. And so that's kind of what it means to be open versus undefined, okay? And so I am oh, perfect, Jessica. I will take a look as soon as I'm done with this. And that sounds great, and we can talk and link up. Hi, Stella. You're stuck on the phone at State Farm. Well, Hi, Keisha. I love all my power sisters are here. I love it. Well, it's okay because the beautiful thing about Facebook Lives is there are always replays, baby. Okay, so let's go into the centers. What do you say, guys? And then if you have, I'm just going to kind of go. So here's the thing about projectors. By the way, I'm learning so much about myself, but also all types in general. Projectors have a difficult time on lives. We get very unfocused. We can, I will be given a lesson and be like, oh, hey, Felicia, like in the middle of the lesson, what's up, Brianna? And then all of a sudden, like go off into a different lesson. So I'm going to be doing a new structure, and that is saying hello, giving the lesson. If you have any Q&A, put them in, and then if we have time at the end, I will answer them for certain. If I don't have time at the end, then I'll answer them in the comments, and or answer them again on tomorrow's live. But I'll get them answered, I promise. So let's go into a lesson about, I love when I said, hey, Rihanna, you said, hey, boo. See, do you see what happens? Do you see right there? I said, let's start the lesson. And I said, oh, hey, boo. It's very difficult. It's like a little sleepover with all my bestest girlfriends, and we're talking about human design while we paint our nails. But I've got to stay focused and teach this. So projectors definitely have a harder time on lives. So if you're a projector, just know that it's very good to speak to one person and to give the lesson and then take questions and answers at the end, okay? So I am practicing. Okay, so our 9 centers. I know most of this, all of it by heart, just from my studies and also from living it. I did bring the big old book because there's a lot more information. I mean, I could do one live or one podcast on each center, and I will. Possibly not this week in this challenge, but so I'll do one on just the open throat center or just the closed throat center. But today is going to be a beautiful synopsis because I want you to understand and be able to pull it all together. So our energy centers are all about the flow of energy, okay? Also, Nikki had also asked the questions about definition, which is also very important. And Nikki, I'm going to talk about that either tonight or tomorrow, okay? As it relates to energy centers, but I'm going to separate those two things into 2 different lessons because it's a lot to absorb. So just know that we will cover that. The energy centers are flow of energy, okay? So we start with the head. So you have the head center. You have the ajna, you have the throat, you have the heart, you have the solar plexus, you have the G center, you have the sacral, you have the spleen, and you have the root, okay? So those are our 9 energy centers. Let's talk about a few different things that are really important to know. Is that, and I already covered one, we have one manifestation center, and that is our throat. Okay, so if you are a closed throat, you manifest by speaking your words. You want to say out loud, even into a recorder, and play it back for yourself. I desire to make X amount of dollars by the end of this year, and I would like to do it by picking up 5 new clients and this, and and then versus whether you're a specific or non-specific manifester, that's a whole nother lesson too. But you want to speak your desires out loud, okay? I'm just making sure that I'm not missing anything here. The throat center is considered the home base of the energy centers. Its extraordinary and unique function is that similar to a town square. So all energy being moved through the 8 other centers towards the throat, where it is given a voice as a means to physically manifest and verbally communicate our human intelligence. That's pretty big. The throat center is how we express precisely what it means to be a differentiated human being at the top of the food chain, okay? So our throat center is very important. We have 2 pressure centers we're going to review, which is the head and the root. So those are our 2 pressure centers. We have 3 awareness centers. So the ajna is an awareness center, the solar plexus, and our spleen. So, and then we have 4 motor or energy centers. So the root is an energy center, the solar plexus, the sacral is our main energy source, energy center, if you have that closed and defined, and our heart centers. These are all of our motors. And we have 1 identity center, which is our G center. Hello, guys. So that is our identity center. Okay, so let's talk about each one and what it means to be open, undefined versus closed and defined. And we will start with the head. So when you have a closed or defined head center, what that means is that you pretty much take in a lot of information, and your way of thinking can be very, I don't want to use the word stuck. That's not what I mean, but it's your way of thinking is pretty solid. It's pretty firm. It is consistent. It is fixed. It's not wobbly. You think about, you know exactly what you're thinking about, and you can get a lot of constant inspiration. So if your mind, your head is closed or defined, you have access to constant inspiration, clarity, natural processes, inner timing, resolution, all of that. So I will say, being a closed head center, it's also very noisy in here. Because there is a lot of noise and it is a constant access, it can feel like a lot of pressure. And that's why we call it a pressure center. So I can tell you, for me, that's one reason I find meditation very important, because my mind can be very noisy with all of the ideas and inspiration that are coming in, okay? A closed head center or closed mind center can also naturally experience anxiety because of that very reason. It's very loud, and we have so many ideas that it can feel overwhelming. I before thought I had massive ADHD. It was just constant, books to write, programs to write, this to do, this post to make, but better call mom. You got to call grandma. It's like constant all the time. And I would think, oh dear Lord, like I had told my husband before, I said, it feels like I'm crazy up there. Like I just want to tell everyone to sit down. And that's kind of what it feels like. And so it is a pressure center. Okay. So patience really helps that pressure to recede. And then some practical things that I love teaching, of course, getting information out onto paper and things like that. So I've created some systems for myself. We're good at if you're a mental projector like I am, we're very good at systems. So I have systems to get all of it out. But you have to have patience with yourself, and I'm finding compassion to know that it's because of that defined head that there's all that noise. It's not that there's something wrong with me. Okay. It's just that defined head centers, we love to take in information. Okay. So we follow our strategy and our authority, and we always come right on back home. Okay. If you have an open head center, what that may mean is that you can often think about things that may not actually be important. So you can still have a lot of thoughts moving in and out, but they could actually, the inspiration is there and it's coming in, but it also may not be your own. So you could be picking up and thinking about other people's problems. You could be thinking about other people's dilemmas, or gosh, I wonder what so-and-so is going to do. So you can constantly be thinking, but it's not that fixed, consistent energy. So your not self theme, or your really area to work on in deconditioning is what I'm thinking about really important? Like, is what I'm thinking about really going to move the needle forward to my goals? Or am I thinking about things that are completely irrelevant to my values and my, projects and goals? And so that's a beautiful place for you to begin with the open head center. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to cover with the head center there. Let me see. I think that's pretty much it. I would just go back to asking yourself, am I trying to answer everyone else's questions? That's another thing too, like with the open head center, if somebody comes up to you and they say, hey, how many human design centers are there in the energy centers? And you're like, I don't know, but hang on, I'll go Google that. And you come back and you may be like, why didn't they just Google that? Like, that's an open head center. Are you answering other people's questions that they can just as easily as answer instead of really staying focused on your own? Okay. So that's a beautiful thing. So let's talk about the Ajna Center. So Ajna is really all about, again, information. I think of it as knowledge and book smarts, and really like, it's kind of like where thoughts are here. This is kind of like where we're putting them into action here and creating and systems. It's like an assimilation, an integration of all that we've learned here. Let me see what... It's also, I will say this too, the Ajna is all about being really certain. So it's all about knowing that you know what you know. If you have a closed or defined Ajna, you're very confident in your ability to share information. You're even confident in sharing it if you don't know all of it, because you just know that you're smart enough to figure it out. So you're very crystal clear and have confidence in all of the knowledge that you have. If you have an open Ajna or an undefined Ajna, you can often feel uncertain about the information that you have gathered. You can also be picking up and learning from other people giving information that may or may not be correct. You may be taking in too much information and being like, let me go listen to these 9 podcasts to gather information, instead of just sticking with that one where you felt really good about the information. It's like you're constantly needing more clarity on that information. So your not self theme there is, am I trying to convince everyone that I'm certain? Am I trying to convince everyone that I'm certain that I actually know? That I actually know this information, that I actually know what I'm doing, that I just know in general, okay? So that is the Ajna. And then we've already touched on the throat a little bit. The throat is like the main home base of all the energy centers where energy flows through it. And if you have a closed or defined throat center, you are here to speak. You are here to teach. You are here to share. You are here to take all of the other knowledge and just let the energy come up that throat and come out of your mouth, and be very certain about it, and be very careful with what you say, because the words that will come out of your mouth are very powerful, especially as far as manifestation goes, for yourself, for others, and for whether it's what you desire or whether you're speaking about what you desire. So always make sure that you are focusing on and speaking on what it is that you really want. Okay, so you speak with clarity, you speak well, you have consistent knowledge or consistent way of speaking, a particular way of speaking, and you feel very good about it, okay? You speak because you feel like you're supposed to, and it comes naturally, and you feel very good about it. if you have an open or a undefined throat center, you may find yourself either speaking too little and being a bit of a wallflower, or speaking too much and being kind of like a chatty Cathy that doesn't know when to stop. Like, you hear yourself talking and you know you should stop talking, but you're not quite sure how to stop talking. So that could be part of an open or undefined throat center. A lot of times people with open or undefined throat centers, they talk too much or even too little in order to attract attention. That is just part of the not self theme. And that is actually, when I looked, it is actually the kind of not self theme of the entire open throat is, am I trying to attract attention to me? So if you have an open or an undefined throat, just pay attention with complete compassion and non-judgment of, what is it I'm saying to myself and to others? And am I talking because I desire attention? Am I talking because I want to prove that I have the right? But just notice the intention behind it, okay? So that is our mind, our ajna, and our throat centers. So now we are moving on down. So why don't we go now to the G center? So the G center is your identity center, okay? So it's kind of like right here. I kind of think of it as like right at your breastbone, like right where you're in between where your bra hits. So your G center overview is all about meaning, identity, life direction. If you have a closed or a defined G center, you feel very certain about who you are, about your identity in this world, about what it is that you're here to do. You're very firm and fixed on what it is you're doing, the direction that you're going. You feel comfortable and confident in the places that you are, and you know that you are meant to be there. And you walk in and everybody knows that you are grounded in knowing that you are there for a reason. You're not a job hopper. You're not going from, being an insurance salesman to, a cruise ship director. You're confident in who you are. It doesn't mean that you don't have questions or want to grow or change career paths or anything like that, but you're really confident about who you are and knowing what you want. Open and undefined G centers, it does not mean that, you're this floating amoeba in outer space and you have no idea what it is you're doing. It just means that you might have a lot of interests, and you might, I am an open G center, and I have a lot of interests. And so, whether it's cleaner and safer beauty, counseling and therapy, psychiatry, human design, intermittent fasting and nutrition. The thing about, it's like, to anybody else, those may seem very disjointed, and to a open G center, they're able to see the bigger picture of how all of those things come together under one umbrella. So you have a lot of interests, but they very much all fit. And that is your identity, is that you're someone that does a lot really well. And so and it really depends on the other centers, but you just want to make sure that also, if you have an open sacral, that when is enough, So for me, it's like I have these, all of these different passions, and I'm good at them and I can bring them together, but I also very much need to know when is enough and what needs to be taken off now, or else that can lead to burnout, okay? So really, it's all about just getting to know yourself better and learning your own design and your own energy centers. The not self question for the open G center is, am I looking for love and direction? Am I looking for love and direction? So am I looking? Am I out here just doing because and being and going from, random place to random place, and looking for love and direction. And, I want to tell you too, there are such advantages to undefined and open centers. Also, you guys, so for example, my open G center and my open solar plexus are what make me, and I can speak with confidence, they're what make me such an amazing coach and therapist, because my open G center has allowed me the ability to be a chameleon that can make anyone feel comfortable. And if you just give me 30 minutes with them, we already have a therapeutic relationship. And I didn't know before, and now I sense that was about the open G center, because open G centers can take on different identities. They can sit down with someone that, maybe from, an Eastern Orthodox religion, and completely adapt and become a person that can relate and talk to that person. So you can kind of become a chameleon when you need to. Having said that, it's all about the intention of doing it. If you're doing that in order to be accepted, to be loved, if you're just becoming who other people need in order to feel loved, that is very different, and that is where a lot of deconditioning needs to be done, okay? So that is our G center. So then we have our heart center to the left, and our heart center is all about willpower. So you might also it's called the heart center. You might hear it called the will center. There's another name it's called sometimes. Why can't I think of it? Heart center, will center. I'm forgetting it, but those are the main two. Okay, so the heart center and the will center, it's all about willpower. Now, for me as a therapist, I don't so much believe in willpower anyways, but that could also be because I have an open heart center and I have none. So I've learned to make peace with not having willpower, and knowing that willpower and forcing yourself into doing something just out of sheer will does not actually work for me. But people with closed and defined heart centers, you most likely have a much easier time sticking to a regimen, sticking to a schedule, sticking to a date, even doing a project. And if you have a deadline on the 23rd, you're working diligently towards that deadline with great accuracy and great will. And undefined or open heart might be like, we're going to push that date back a little bit. It just feels too close, and I just don't. Today I'm just tired, and let's just push it out a few days. So an open or undefined will can have a little bit of a more difficult time with sticking to getting things done on time, on task. If you combine that with an open spleen center, which I read also can have a lot of issue around time management, and then you add in a closed head, you get me, which is why I probably feel like I have ADD. I have done a lot of therapeutic measures though over the years to really manage that. I even have like little time cubes, and I use Pomodoro timers, and I do all of these things, but it can, definitely impact your way of living. And it's so fascinating to me because I truly believe now as a therapist that knowing human design, I bet there have been so many people diagnosed with a psychiatric mental illness that actually just had an undefined center with a lot of conditioning. I could have easily been diagnosed with, anxiety and ADHD just because of my loud head and my open heart, open spleen, open root, open sacral. These are actual things. And so what we do is we look at them, we laugh about it, and then we decondition. And it's a beautiful thing because then you start learning how to live differently, and turn what has been a crutch into wisdom and a really beautiful gift. Okay. So the thing with the open heart center is also knowing that if it's open, you have nothing to prove. You have nothing to prove. You are here because you are worthy, okay? So then not only is it about willpower, but it's also about worth. And so in a lot of ways, the G center and the heart center, and in my mind at least, they kind of are brother and sister and play off of each other because, you know, identity, love, and direction. And then you've got, you know, willpower and being true to one's word, and then feeling worthy of getting something happen. If I don't meet that deadline because I'm struggling with all of these other things, it could really lend to me not feeling worthy to, you know, have that podcast. And all of the stories that we create, I'm sure you can see here how it can really impact your life, okay? So open heart really deals with worth as well. And so I want to say to you, you are so worthy. And if you have an open heart center and you can just look at it objectively and say, oh, that's just my open heart center. Of course I'm worthy. And I know now that I'm going to have a little tougher time with deadlines and with willpower. So maybe learn to give yourself a little bit of, a little bit of a buffer on each side, or, you know, give yourself more time to plan, or, you know, just be easier with yourself if you do need to reschedule something. It completely depends on you and your other centers and your type. Okay. But yes, self-worth is a big theme with, or I should say lack of self-worth is a big theme with open and undefined hearts. And this is something also that another reason I love human design as a therapist and as an empowerment coach, because you can see how all of these things work together in a therapeutic setting. Okay, closed heart. It does not mean that you are closed-hearted, but what it does mean is that you have, like I said, stronger willpower, and you have a greater sense of self and worth at times, and many times. Maybe it's because you are accomplishing things and that willpower is there, or maybe it's because you just don't have conditioning in that area and you feel really comfortable with who you are and your worth, and you never doubt that self-love. So that is the heart center, you guys. So kind of below that, we go to the solar plexus. The solar plexus is all about emotion. It is all about emotion, and it is all about feeling, okay? It is, I know I'm opposite, but so in the chart, it would actually be here. It is all about the nervous system. It's all about our feelings, our highs and our lows, desires. Our relationship to food is here. Our relationship to romance, sex drive can be fueled here. So if you have a closed solar plexus, you are an emotional authority. And that means that you are also a pretty highly emotional person. You have a lot of highs and a lot of lows. And so, for you to have mood swings, for your moods to kind of shift is pretty normal. And what you were asked to do and called to do as part of your strategy and your authority is to ride the emotional wave, okay? So you just want to see your emotions and watch them almost like you're a pelican flying around above that stormy water, and that pelican sees all those waves and just watches until they calm. And when you calm and you have more of calm waters, that is when you will be making a decision. It's if you're a sacral authority, which you would be if your solar plexus is closed. If you're a generator or manifesting generator, and you have your closed sacral, you always want to listen for the sacral as well to give you your or your and then you want to rely on that solar plexus to die down, and when the emotions are still, that is when you know. That is when you know, okay? If you are a open or undefined solar plexus, it's not that you don't feel at all. You absolutely do. I am an open solar plexus and I feel very deeply. The thing is that most of what you feel and have felt your entire life, it's not yours. It's not yours, and you just didn't know it. We take on open, we're talking about like, empaths. I've heard it said, and I've read that closed or defined solar plexus centers cannot truly be empaths in the way that an open solar plexus is, because we actually feel other people's feelings first over our own. And so by nature, we are pretty calm and steady and grounded. But what happens is if you don't know that you're an open or undefined solar plexus, if you don't know that you're an empath, then you can feel like you are just on an emotional roller coaster from hell without even knowing that you have acted as a sponge and soaked up everybody else's stuff. So we want to act as a mirror, not a sponge, a mirror that reflects the feelings right back. Or you could even say like act like a TV screen, or like act like some kind of screen, but do not be a sponge. I like mirror to me because when I'm thinking that like if I have this shield on and it's a mirror, then other people are projecting their feelings and it's literally just going right back to them. They're seeing their own stuff, and I visualize it being a very protective mirror, that it is not my own. And this is still a really tough one for me, being a therapist and just being somebody that has always felt so deeply. And I feel other people's pain so strongly that literally it punches me in the gut. Like, I mean, truly, like it happened to me last week, just immense pain. And it often comes out of left field when you don't realize it's going to happen, and you aren't protected as much as one should be. So I do some energetic protection and energy strategies every day. Going somewhere like Thanksgiving, for example, is tough because you're around people that generally have been the ones who have conditioned you, right? And then they've got all of their anxiety and their angst. And so it can really be tough. So open centers, you want to make sure that, let's see, am I avoiding confrontation and truth? So am I avoiding confrontation and truth? A lot of open solar plexus centers do not like confrontation, and they don't always desire to look at the truth of the situation and the truth of what they're holding for other people, because that also is painful. And that can often lead to some kind of, content phrase. I cannot say that word. It can lead to a disagreement, or it can lead to an uncomfortable discussion for an undefined or open solar plexus, okay? So am I avoiding confrontation or the truth? So now we're going to moving on, just because of time. My son is getting his driver's license today, and I'm super excited and a little weepy, so I have to take him in just a little bit right after this live. Okay, so let's move on to the sacral. The sacral is generators, manifesting generators. This is your powerhouse. She's a brick. Sacral house. Sorry, I couldn't help it. So this is where you have your prana, you have your life energy. This is where your sex and magic and rock and roll comes from. Only I can say that because I don't have it. But I can borrow it from you. So this is where your magic is. This is where your energy is. But having said that, just because you have life force energy there, it doesn't mean that you're using it properly. So if you are not in alignment, chances are good that you are not using that energy properly, and you can also very much burn out. Also, manifesting generators, you do not have as much as generators per se, because you also have the manifester in you. So you might find yourself liking to do things in kind of like bursts of energy instead of just working full on out for 20 hours without stopping. But generators, most especially people with sacral power, you are here to work. You can sustain those long work days. You can sustain physical labor. You can do it all. So that is, yeah, you have got, and you're sexy and you love sex, and you probably, this is also your reproductive area. So this is your baby making, like, energy, and you got it going on. So if you have an open sacral center or an undefined sacral center, it just means that you're very open energetically. That is what makes you a non-energy type, okay? You're very open energetically, so you're not going to be able to sustain long work days. And if you do, you're gonna crash. It's why, to be honest, and it's so hard for me, because going back, remember that open G center, that person like me that has all the passions, and then add in my mental projectorness that wants to read all the books and learn all the things. And then I have no energy and I'm open everywhere else. And so what happens is, if you are not in alignment and really being true with yourself, you'll crash and you get sick. And I have in the past a lot. And so it's very important to be honest with yourself and just to know that this is just kind of how it is. You can't like force yourself into being a generator. You can borrow energy if there is a huge deadline or huge project. And honestly, I think that that's how I did so well with Beautycounter for so long, earning trips. I mean, I would hustle my ass off for 3 months solid and be on the top of that leaderboard. I got to director super fast. I was borrowing because I was working with so many women. I know now I was just taking some of that sacral energy. And at the end, I remember the last day, I literally fell on the ground. I could not even talk to people. And then this year, right before that trip incentive period started, the day before is when my appendix burst. Your body knows, and honestly, you know. So if you do not have sacral energy, you are not meant to work in the same way with the same force. You are, at least for projectors, you are here to guide, depending on what type of non-energy work you are, of course. Open sacral centers. Also, you don't know when enough is enough. Okay, so for example, me with work, I love my work. Like, I could go live and write blogs and do podcasts and see 3 clients. Like, I love it. It's hard for me to stop, to be honest, which is a great thing, right? It's a great thing, but it's also a really not great thing, because I don't know when enough is enough, and that's when I get sick. This is coming from the open sacral center, as well as the other open centers. And so this is where, when we talk about deconditioning, this is where the work comes in, is, okay, Heather, you are a projector and you worked 14 hours yesterday. What was that about? Is that about, and I didn't, yesterday was Sunday. I actually didn't get out of my pajamas. I did some work around the house, but I have worked 14 hours other days. So let's just say I might sit down and, take a look at, where are you not feeling enough? What is it about? And so one of the things with the heart center, by the way, is competitiveness. So if you have an open heart center, like I do, and like many of you probably do, it also triggers a very competitive side that is not good for you. You love to win, and you need to win. You want to know why? Because it helps prove your worth. Well, I was taught that productivity equals love. Productivity, titles, winning the next thing, winning the next thing, winning the next thing. That is love. That's when I was shown love. That's when I was given love. It's like, okay, so now I have to stop. But your competitiveness comes out. And when you combine those two, which is what happened to me with Beautycounter, which by the way, I'm still doing, I'm just selling. I'm not, but I this is my deconditioning, okay? And I'm going to talk about it. But part of deconditioning also, it takes a little time. It's not something to be rushed. You want to be patient with yourself. And, you know, I've just kind of been letting it marinate. And so the thing is like, I realized, wow, the universe gave me this beautiful success with Beautycounter to expose and trigger every conditioning I had. Security, worthiness, competitiveness, identity and belonging, pressure, all of it. Right? And with a passion, with knowledge, with being really good at it. And I was doing, even though I was really successful, I was not using my strategy and authority for the most part, and I crashed. But looking back now, I was competing, and I was competing against all these Manigens and generators, and I was borrowing that sacral energy. And literally, the first year I crashed, just like as in I can't get out of bed for a week. The second year, I ended up in the hospital with emergency surgery. So when you are a non-energy type, it is to be taken seriously. It's really a health thing. And so all of these energy centers also are related to organs and to different parts of your body. I don't know why I'm doing this. Okay. Open sacral center. You are not here to be a tireless worker. We already handled that. You're not here to hustle. And let's see if there's anything else I'm missing. Knowing when enough is enough. So this is another reason that it's beautiful to have coaching support, is looking at, you know, it's so interesting because even before I found found Human Design, my life theme was, what is enough? You can ask any one of my therapists ever, is what is enough? And I so craved this like spaciousness. I craved spaciousness, yet I filled my days. I filled my calendar. I took on too many clients. I allowed my boundaries to be pushed because I wanted to be loved. When I look back and I get honest with myself, I see every single piece of conditioning in my past, and that is how we decondition. We get honest and we do the ugly snotty crying work, and we realize where all of these things are showing up in our lives, and we get support with somebody like me, or somebody else that you love, to help us move through it. Okay, so what is enough for you? Okay, what is enough? Enough sex, enough shopping, enough work, enough sleep, enough anything. Like, where are you asking that question in your life? All right. Root center. Actually, we'll save the root for last. Let's go to the spleen. So the spleen, my spleen is also open. The spleen is where we hold security and fear. And the gates in the spleen are really important. There are fear gates. And so that would also be another good lesson or a good masterclass or workshop or something to do, exploring our different fear gates in our spleen. But this is where we hold security, and I'm talking about like life security, the tough stuff. So let me pull up the spleen here. It's all about holding on if you're open and undefined with the spleen, then you often hold on to everything not good for you. So you've taken on all of the stuff past the enough, and now you're holding on to it even when it's not good for you, okay? So our spleen is also all about our health, our immune system, our physical well-being. It is all about balance and wellness in our life. And really, we don't have that without security. So I kind of think of, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy, but if you think of the bottom of the hierarchy, you've kind of got food, shelter, belonging, and as you come up, and then it's like relationships, and then self-actualization, and reaching your goals, and so it gets like higher and higher. When you don't have that bottom part that is steady, it's really difficult to be like, reaching your dharma. You know what I mean? If you are in a place of constant, what's the word I'm looking for? Like fight or flight, which really comes more so from the root. But if you're in a constant state of, what is the word I'm looking for? Survival. If you're in a constant state of survival, like I'm just trying to survive right now. I'm just getting the mortgage paid. I'm just getting the groceries on the table. Like my baby needs new shoes. Like if you're in that state of survival, it's really difficult for you to meet higher life goals. So the spleen, if you're open or undefined, is a really beautiful place for you to take a look. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, but let me tell you, when you have an open or undefined spleen, it makes you this goes back also to being an amazing healer. You are very able to diagnose other people's health and well-being issues. I will say that again. So imagine if you have an open solar plexus, you feel their pain, and if you have an open spleen, you can diagnose and heal and help treat their open and often undiagnosed wellness issues because you just know what they are. The spleen, it does, but you're not always good with your own. Just because you know what other people's are, it doesn't mean that you're taking care of your own. Okay, so that's a really big theme for open spleens. And like I said, we often hold on to things that are not good for us. Okay. It's all about survival, well-being. Each gate in the spleen, as I said, represents a primary fear, but it's all a fear about survival. So those are really good to dive into. With an undefined spleen, the gates are magnified often, and so we often hold on to those things and people that help to dissipate the fears. We are constantly chasing a feel-good high. And it's so fascinating because when I read about this, I also think about addiction. And, I wonder how many addictions could have been prevented or can be healed by doing this work. So we experience inconsistency. We chase a really feel-good feeling. We hold on to what is not good for us. And so it is correct, and while it is correct for a defined spleen to be spontaneous. So a defined and closed spleen, you can be very spontaneous in life. An undefined spleen that is generally not true for an open spleen because we do not have that consistent intuition. And when I say intuition, I'm also talking about like an intuition to know when danger. Like we don't know when danger is imminent. Like I would have helped Ted Bundy into the back of that van with his cute little cast. I would have been like, oh my gosh, sir, let me help you. And I would have been gone. And that's true. Like often I've done things to help others that put myself in a pretty dangerous situation in the past. We don't often know when we don't have that intuitive guidance to know when something is not good for us. So it's really difficult to be spontaneous. Like I've also been like bungee jumping and jumped out of airplanes, and I've done all of these crazy things. And I look back over my life, I love that thrill. I really do. Like, take me to the highest roller coaster. And I'm also wondering, like, wow, is this my open spleen? I'm looking for that feel good feeling. I don't really know what's dangerous. So yeah, pay attention to that. I'm thinking too for like teenagers, you know, if you have teens, and seeing if they have an open or an undefined spleen, because and looking at where they may be predisposed to, you know, take on others things, or to seek that thrill, or to not know what is or is not good for them. Okay. Let's see. So, yeah. So if you have a closed spleen, you have a very good intuition about what is good for you, what is healthy in your life. You are very intuitive about what you need to eat, what you need to be putting in your body. You're very intuitive about what is going on in your health and in your own body. You have a good security about life. You feel secure. You probably have a better relationship with money and finances, and you have just really healthy habits when it comes to not being thrill-seeking. And again, that doesn't mean if you're closed or defined, it doesn't mean that you don't have any of those things. It just means that you're probably less predisposed to them and less conditioned, okay? Gosh, I could spend a whole hour just talking about the open spleen. So I think these would be really, really good. This would be a great course, or yeah, it would. Okay, moving on though. Okay, am I holding on to what isn't good for me? That's with the spleen. So the root. The root is our second pressure center. So remember, we've got the head and then we've got the root. The root is all about pressure, okay? It's all about the pressure to get things done. It's all about your adrenals and anxiety. People with an open root can, they often feel like they have to hurry to get things done, to not upset other people. They feel like they constantly have kind of that rushing, I'm always late, kind of feeling. And it can be really bad for their adrenals, can lead to adrenal fatigue, of course. They have probably extra cortisol floating around in their body. It's a fight or flight thing, okay? And the thing is, they enjoy the rush. So they enjoy the rush and the adrenaline and the stress. Because it kind of feels good to that open root, and it kind of is like, it's kind of like scratching an itch almost, because when you're rushing, it's kind of like you're in a hurry to get rid of that pressure, and then it's kind of like it's kind of like when you've needed to go to the bathroom forever and you finally find a bathroom and you sit down to pee and you're like, oh, and it feels so good. Oh my God, I'm so glad that's good. It's like that. It's literally like a high. And so that is the open root, okay? You naturally amplify the pressure, and stress. So the trick, or it's not even a trick, but like where we want to work, the balance is in being steady and not allowing it to change your actions. So one thing that's helped me with this is an open root is time blocking. And like I said, using that Pomodoro timer. And then when I just ignore it and I just let it keep beeping and I keep working, that's when I get back and I'm brave enough to do the work about, why am I not keeping this date with myself? Why am I not, what is it I'm trying to prove here? Like what is the intention here? And so start asking the tough stuff. So open root, we aren't here to be in a hurry. We aren't here to get things done all the time in a fast, adrenaline-like way, because we know that actually doesn't get much done at all. We can often be exhausted and burnt out and get sick. we judge ourselves really harshly for being lazy, but instead we want to realize that our bodies need rest. And let's see, we often have a to-do list and like this belief that there's this never-ending cycle of things to get done and rush through. And we have that list, it's like 1,000,000 miles long, and we're like, oh my God, and we don't know how to prioritize it. It's literally that pressure and that open route, okay? So the more that you're pressured by others too, the more that other people pressure you to do things or get things done, the more that you're pressuring yourself, that is a call to relax. And that is how that energy dissipates. And that root center is actually to relax. Okay. And, for me, because I am so, because as a mental projector, I am very in my head and open, I very much also practice grounding. So like, for me, I'm actually going to share some about like crystals that I think are really good for different types. But I wear and I hold a lot of grounding stones. So here I have carnelian for the sacral area. I have, what's this called? Not pyrite. It's, oh my goodness. It's completely left my brain right now, but it's heavy and it is like the most grounding stone there is. Hematite. Thank you. It's hematite. I wear hematite all the time and hold it. I have, mostly nothing but grounding stones around me. So I hold them throughout the day. This is a smoky quartz. This is black tourmaline, Unakite jasper. I can't remember. I'm thinking it's for like the lower 3 chakras. But my point of being is that there are many things that we can help put into practice in your life, to do daily. Oils, just all of it. Certain nutrition is needed for each type. There's like so much to teach. And so even in like teaching, it's like I want to hurry up and teach. I want to teach you everything, and I want to write 5 courses and 5 books, and patience and relaxation and just being where you are. That is the key to the energy centers, and noticing how the energy flows between them, and really just simply being mindful throughout your day of what's coming up, how you speak, what you're saying to others, the actions you're doing, and just being like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that open heart center was causing me to be competitive. Like, I don't even want to win this stupid bag or whatever it is. I don't even care about that stupid bag. I have enough bags, but like, I see now what's going on. That's my open heart. And then, you go back to looking at, I am worthy. I'm worthy. I already know I can do that. I'm worthy. And so that's where you do the work, is by allowing all the reasons that you're not in alignment to come up. And that helps you do the work that gets you back into alignment. So being not in alignment is actually a really beautiful thing because of that. That sounds like a good post. I think I'll do that later. See, that's the closed mind right there. It's like, oh, that would be a good post and blog. And oh my goodness, I should do a podcast on that. It's like never ending. It's like, stop, all you people in my head. But I hope this has been super helpful. And let me see what time it is. I am going to have to go. So just because I have got to get my son to the DMV. Jessica Sproul, I will message you back. To everybody else who is watching, and put any questions below. Nicole, hello. Keisha, I'm so glad it's making sense, and I'm so glad that like I'm sharing it in a way that feels good to you. That makes me super happy. Super duper duper happy. Thank you guys. I hate to jump off so quick. Usually I would be like, give me all your questions and answers. I'm going to stick around to answer them. But I have got a 16-year-old little boy that is going to be waiting for me to get his driver's license. So I'm going to go get him and put any questions down below that you have, and I will either answer them on the thread or I will answer them in a later post or on tomorrow's lives. And we will keep moving forward, you guys. And I hope this, please let me know, drop me a comment and let me know if this was really helpful for you, okay? Just the explanations and kind of knowing how they all work together. I love you guys so much. I have created some specials for you for a reading, a 60-minute reading, and then a 3-session special for a reading and 2 strategy sessions to really bring all of this together and help you implement it into your life so you can begin living in alignment. So I will share those as well. And anybody's charts that still are undone, I am also working diligently to get that done too, I promise. Love you guys so much, and I will be back. Mwah! Bye.